CTS
Five,
podcast.
4, 3, 2, 1.
CTS podcast. I'll say it.
Okay.
CTS podcast. CTSPC.
No.
Episode
not
44
again,
of 999.
Not again.
Henry and I were talking about doing this podcast 20 years out.
You guys better have blown it up. We better have 500 million.
Dude, imagine our
Billion
one viewer
subscribers.
that continues to watch us in 20 years.
They better share it then. I don't know. Like, share, comment.
We'll send you a gift.
Subscribe. Yeah. If you can prove that you've been listening to our podcast for 20 years, you will receive a gift.
Okay. So, this week we'll touch on some big new developments in world news that really didn't happen. Not a lot of stuff went on this week. That at least that I can remember. The one thing I wanted to talk about was this crazy statistic thing. Utah is in a drought. 25% of Utah's water
The entire
use.
West is in a drought.
Yes. 25% of Utah's water use? Golf courses.
What is it, like 70% agriculture, though?
Yeah, but farmers got to farm. Agriculture production
Golfers
is
gotta
really
golf,
important.
dude.
That's
Come on.
so base.
Just kidding. No.
But that's weird. That's weird that the governor is saying pray for more water and 25% of it is going to golf courses. That's kind of yeah, it's probably a pretty big industry in Utah, probably a pretty big deal, but a fourth.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
Takes a lot of water. Well, California is bad too with golf courses. This is like revisionist history. Malcolm Gladwell talks about it. California, and this is like not the water thing. We can come back to that. But California has a law where property taxes on golf courses are like grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if golf courses that have been there for like
hearing that.
100 years don't have to pay property tax, really. Like, they're not paying anything, and they're taking up like crazy amounts of space, crazy amounts of water. And like Utah is less like, at least most of the golf courses in Utah are like public. In places like California, it's all country clubs that service like 300 members. They get a play and like their guests.
I've never
It's
cared for
bonkers.
golfing.
I like golf.
I'm a cynic when it comes to golfing. It's like it's such like a avoidable sport. It's like a sport that you could take out of society, and you could be like, okay, it's gone. No one golfs anymore. You don't have any more business trips. Like people.
90% of Fortune 500 CEOs golf.
That's what I'm saying. We can get that
Fortune
out.
500 CEOs, the golf on average earn 17% more than those who don't.
Why don't they play ping pong or soccer? Something reasonable. Something worldwide.
It's a little more difficult
Or
to
cricket?
make business deals when you're sprinting down the touchline on the soccer pitch.
Okay, fair play. But let's think of other sports that are
Baseball, you just stand around the whole time, not doing anything.
baseball's
You're
something
too far
else.
away, though.
So let's not to get off on a tangent, but let's talk about that real quickly. This new guy, I don't know if you know his name. You probably know his name. He's been in the news as of late, and people are like comparing him to Babe Ruth because he's just
Shohei Ohtani.
you do know.
Yeah.
So this guy, he plays in the National League where pitchers have to hit. And usually when pitchers have to hit,
Bad news.
yeah, it's
Not
just
good.
it's an automatic out, really. Like almost all the time.
A lot of time.
But this guy can hit and he can pitch. He pitches like a psychopath, and I don't even know baseball.
He was in the All-Star game as a pitcher and also competed in the home run derby.
That's crazy.
That's bonkers.
And I saw this big debate, right? And it was like people were mad because he was getting compared to Babe Ruth. And the argument
He's
that
better than Babe Ruth.
he's better than Babe Ruth. Yeah, for sure, because Babe Ruth wasn't having to deal with like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Well, and have you seen pictures of Babe Ruth and
The dude-
pictures of
he's a-
Shohei Ohtani.
He's a big boy, and Shohei Ohtani's like this build.
He's like
tall.
he's got like
built.
7 inches on him. He's ripped. Yeah. No.
He's just
crazy.
better. Obviously, I think it's too soon. Like some people are calling him like the best that will ever play. That's what some people were saying, and I think that's what really is starting to piss people off is because some of these sports commentators are like, he's the best in the game right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about baseball, so I can't comment.
Yeah, it's just kind of an abnormality for a pitcher to be as good as he is at hitting.
for
but
sure.
Kind of interesting.
Well, back to the water thing, maybe. How crazy, like some of the things. Have you ever been to Lake Mead?
Probably a long time ago.
It is at like all-time low. It's never been lower than it is now. If it goes down, I think it's something like 3 more feet in like depth, then they're gonna have to like drastically cut like not Nevada, Arizona and New Mexico. They're gonna drastically cut how much water they get from Lake Mead. If it goes down like 40 more feet, they're gonna drastically cut how much water goes to California. If it goes down, I think like 100 more feet, it gets below the dam, so it can't like let out any water to these places, and they can't like only Nevada gets to use that water. It's like the lowest it's ever been by a mile.
So climate change or what?
Yeah, I'd like it's got to be right.
I don't know. The thing is, I know quite a bit about politics. I consider myself quite informed on political issues. I will say that climate change really is not something I know a lot about.
It's difficult because it changes a lot, right? Like
That's probably why it's in the name.
this. No, I don't think that's why it's in the name.
Climate change.
I believe, if we're getting down into semantics, that the change in the name refers to the climate that's changing, not the science
You
itself.
lost me.
We've got some smart viewers. I'm sure they followed along.
Okay. No, but yeah, kind of weird stuff with water this year. I don't remember water shortage this bad since I was probably a lot younger.
Well, I don't think they've ever, like the federal government declared like a national like water shortage thing, whatever. However they declare that officially, they did that for I think the first time ever. So
What do you
that's
do?
Bad news.
What do you do? Let's say it just continues and water just gets gone. People have to stop. Like golf course water has to stop. Agriculture has to go down because look, people's actual use of water, like turning the sink off when you brush your teeth, that is just so inconsequential. It's like picking an atom out of like like this table. Okay, it's not that crazy.
Well,
But it's comparably, metaphorically, it's like taking something as small as an atom and taking it out of the table and being like, this is what turning your faucet off
it's
does.
like the pollution thing where like they're like, "Oh, like turn off like the lights in your," or like just dumb stuff like that, when really it's massive corporations that are contributing to like 95%
And
of
cows.
pollution.
Cows are like 18% or something crazy. Like livestock.
I know the study that statistic comes from. It is a lot. There was some study that's like cows are like 30 or 40% of like greenhouse gas producing,
I don't know
and
if
it's a
that-
bad study. It's a bad study, but yeah, they produce a lot. Like livestock produces a ton of pollution, greenhouse gases.
Isn't that weird to think about though?
Well, the whole like commercial agriculture industry is like kind of nuts to think about.
Yeah, it is kind of nuts to think about.
Have you seen that Seaspiracy documentary?
No.
Oh my gosh. So it's talking about like fish, right, in the ocean, and how like they're getting kind of killed by climate change and like overfishing and stuff. And then you get to like halfway through the documentary and they're talking about like how bad the fishing is, and then it's like they talk about like farming fish and how it's like that's also just horrible for the environment. It's commercial agriculture is a bad deal.
Yeah, and it's just it's weird to me that the message is like you need to stop. That's like the message from government and even corporations. You know, they come out with these campaigns and they're like, you need to stop.
Like ExxonMobil.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, like drive or like take public transportation to conserve, like to like save the environment. It's like, you're ExxonMobil. What are you like? Why are you preaching to me about? Yeah, it's bad. Well, the like agriculture thing, I think like 70 or 80% of like crops grown go to feeding like cows and like livestock.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Bonkers. And that's all that stuff needs to get watered. You have to they have those things where it's like they show you like the water consumption used in for like a meal or something, and like to produce like 1 pound of beef, it's like several, like I can't remember, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's like a ridiculous amount of water is consumed to produce 1 pound of beef.
Right. Is that fan too loud to have on? Does the mic pick it up? I was gonna say it's
pretty bad.
It's really hot in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agriculture stuff, pretty weird. Climate change stuff, pretty weird. Let's move on to something that I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about. We were just talking about this off the podcast, but I actually think it's really interesting. This group of Trump supporters that still believe that he won the election.
I think it's dying down more than it was. You've got like, because you had the first group that it was like a lot of people that voted for Trump, like were like, oh, like there's election fraud, whatever. And it's kind of scaled back to people that like I can pretty much go, oh man, if you say that, you're probably like kind of crazy.
I would agree with you. The only problem is I know like 6 people that believe that.
You hang out in weird circles.
That's like a lot. I probably know like 100 people.
To be fair.
And I know, and 6 of them think the election was stolen.
Yeah.
Not only do they believe the election is stolen, there are people that think like the January 6th riots were like not as bad as what they were shown in the media, and that it was like overhyped, and that there was a bunch of Antifa, paid agents, paid actors that were a part of the crowd and initiated this, and the Capitol Police was in on it, and that's why they were let in so easily. Yeah. That's weird stuff. That's like, and it's not just, I used to think it was just like internet things, like you go to like a based version of Reddit and it's like, oh, this is why this happened, or like conspiracy YouTube stuff, videos, Instagram. But I know people that believe that. There's people that believe that like the January 6th riots weren't an attack on democracy. That's how I would describe them. They were sitting in the chair of the vice president.
The problem is these people get, and it happens all over, and this is a great example of it, is these people get in like echo chambers, right? That you don't have to see like any outside, like you really don't have to interact with anybody that's going to challenge your views or people that are going to present facts a different way. You get to sit in on your like 3 Facebook pages that you follow and get just all this information shoveled thrown at you, and then somebody comes up to you and says, well, you don't like really believe that, do you? And you're like, well, everyone believes it because everyone I talk to believes it. And that's not true. You just get stuck in an echo chamber and then get kind of
but I don't
turned
believe
around.
That stuff. Right.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't believe, for example, like I'm saying that like of the 100 people I know, 6 people believe.
I mean, you, not like, I'm not saying you as in you. I mean, like,
you're saying the problem with those people
person,
believing in it is that
those people are getting stuck in an echo chamber.
That's part of it, I think. I think it is a big part of it, and they don't see the other side, and they don't like realize what is going on. But there's definitely like a little bit of crazy in there too. Like it's definitely not a good thing to be so obsessed about something. Like me and you, we love politics more than anyone I know. We're probably the most tooting my own horn here, but we're probably the most informed about politics that I know, or at least give
Just
the best takes.
Before I know, we're gonna get crap about this from some of our listeners. Last week we were talking about assassinations, and we kept saying Nixon. It was Reagan. Nixon.
No shot.
I
said Nixon.
We both of us said Nixon several times. It was definitely.
I
Reagan.
knew it was Reagan. I don't know why I said Nixon. That's just a slip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Continue. Were there
though.
comments on it or something?
No, it was just some family said something.
Okay. Regardless, get me back on track to what I was talking about.
You were tooting your own horn.
I was tooting my own horn. We
politically
are probably
informed
the most. We give some pretty hot takes, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's very true. Very hot take. The good overall good take from both of us every once in a while, and we kind of know what's going on. But some people like don't know what's going on, and they legitimately lose sleep over it. Neither of us would ever lose sleep over politics. Have you ever lost sleep over politics?
No.
I've never lost sleep over politics, or even a current event. Have you ever lost sleep over a current event?
I would say I have, but like
what?
Like crazy events, like just
like
in,
insane, like a COVID or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Maybe like the Boston Marathon bombing.
in the sense that like something crazy happened, but not the way I know where you're going with this. Not in that way.
Not in like. I think
I'm so upset
there are
about
people I know that legitimately, I believe, or I've asked them, I'm like, do you lose sleep over it? And they're like, yeah. Like they feel so strongly that Trump won the election that they lose sleep over it. That's like on a level of obsession with politics or interest. Like there's like a line, it's probably like this tall. We're probably like here compared to some of the people, like a quarter of the way there. And we both love politics. There are people like over here, but they don't have like an overall global knowledge of current events. So they only know like 6 or 7 events related to what they're really interested in.
But that's the echo chamber thing.
And those 6 or 7 events make people lose sleep. It makes people crazy. It makes them cuckoo. It's like, I have to tell someone, I have to blah, blah, blah. And it gets them to a point like, I was telling you this off podcast, but it gets to a point where like you bring up a valid hot take that makes sense.
Not even a hot take.
Not even hot. It's just like a mediocre, like this is true.
A normal take.
Like a fact, for example.
This is a fact.
This is real. This is real thing. And they're like, no, I don't believe that.
I was listening to somebody the other day that it was not a political podcast, but they were like, part of their show is they like people will submit like arguments, like kind of dumb arguments to them, and they'll arbitrate on their podcast. And the one somebody submitted, like, my mom doesn't believe that narwhals are real. And they're like, okay, this one has to be a joke, but we live in a world where like it doesn't take too much for me to go, somebody might be like, oh, narwhals aren't real. And it like that. There's a lot of events that people, or a lot of things that people believe that I'm like, that is like, I don't get. Like, that's as bad as believing narwhals aren't real.
To be fair, narwhals are like one of those animals in the animal kingdom that it's like, that's kind of weird. Like I legitimately probably found out narwhals were real when I was like 16. Because you see the movie like Elf. Have you seen the movie Elf?
Yeah, I've seen Elf.
And you see the narwhal come up, and it's like this unicorn of the sea.
Well, that's like claymation. They do this thing where they make like the shapes with clay and then like stop motion. So they don't actually look like that.
Narwhals,
that, right?
Well, they do have a horn. They
I know, this is a dumb joke.
Okay.
But yeah, no. But like, how do you go, like, in this day and age when we live on the internet, like we have the internet, how do you go, Are narwhals real? Yes or no? Look up on your phone.
Well, I'll tell you why.
But like you go, there's 10 million images of narwhals. Every single one of them's doctored.
This doesn't relate directly to that, but I'll tell you why. Because the media has become so distrusted and so, I hate to use this word, I hope I don't get banned, so fake, that people don't trust it anymore. They don't trust the media. There's nothing to be trusted. 90% of what comes out is
Big narwhal.
literal entertainment, big narwhal conspiracy on the media. And no one trusts it. When
Yeah,
CNN
it's bad.
comes out and they give 13 just completely exaggerated, borderline lies, and they give one bit of truth,
Yeah, it's bad. It's
What are
bad
you-
news, and it's everybody.
what are you
right?
supposed to believe?
Like, I don't know how you. The only way to get any objective truth in politics is to listen to this podcast. I think.
Oh, we're the only source
The
of
objective
knowledge.
Arbitrators of truth.
Dude, can you imagine? It's like the timekeepers in Loki. There's like me and you, and we're the timekeepers, and we're the arbitrators of political knowledge. Like you get a far right Trump supporter and like a far left communist, and you just bring them together, and we just arbitrate the discussion.
And then they get pruned and sent to Death World. Okay. Yeah, no, it's bad, and we've spent so much. I'd say probably 40% of what we do on this podcast is like crap on the media.
But it's worth. It's
Oh,
so
100%. 100%. But yeah, so it's not, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that we think the media is bad news.
It's making
bears.
people crazy. It's part of what is making people, Henry, it's part of what is making people genuinely crazy. Like, like crazy sauce. You can't leave it. People become obsessed. And people I know who weren't into politics, they get into it after the 2016 election because, like, I know a lot of people that got into it and voted for Trump because they hated Hillary so much.
Yeah.
And then when Trump became president, you know, he was their president. They voted for him. They supported him. And
You can't get out. It's trapped.
no, you can't.
Like
But
Scientology.
what's weird is, like, I feel like we both like politics a lot. And if we just wanted to get out, we could just get out.
Yeah.
Because we
I
can,
could
like,
not
objectively.
think about politics again and be happy.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, the only time I think about it is, like, when I'm reading something having to do with politics or we're getting ready for the podcast is when I think about politics. I don't, like, go home and I'm, like, sitting by myself in my room. I'm like, oh, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, Hillary. It's like, I don't do that. But some people do. And it's becoming more common than you think. On both sides, there are people on the left that legitimately... But it's kind of the opposite, right? Like, the right is like, they'll lose their minds. I guess it's not the opposite. It's the same. The right loses their minds, the left loses their minds, and then they both go on social media and they have to get it out. These thoughts are like bouncing around in their head. The election was stolen, free healthcare, free college, January 6th riots, and these thoughts are bouncing around in their heads, and they're like, I have to tell someone. So they get on their phones or get on their computers and they're like,
That's upside down.
you right-wing racist idiot, or you snowflake liberal. It's like, why did they
Yeah.
do this? No one cares. No one is going to remember what you say. Nobody. I have never read a take on TikTok that stuck with me.
The one thing, this is like kind of meta, but one thing about this podcast that I like this podcast has made me realize is 30 minutes after we finish the podcast, I legitimately can't remember what we talked about
No
on
shot.
the podcast.
Mm-mm.
So like if I can't remember the like what I said 30 minutes ago, what good is me putting out something like that, like inflammatory like that going to do?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's funny is it gives people like a god complex. Like they'll type these messages and they'll think that they're winning the argument, and the other person thinks they're winning the argument, and every single point they make is like god tier, really hot take, very good, and then the other person thinks god tier, hot take, really good, and no one wins. The only person that wins is like people like me and you who have an actual God complex, reading the messages and just laughing at how ridiculous you sound.
Have you seen, this is like way off topic. But have you seen that, like, the Twitter thread where it's like some like Trump or like they're arguing about Trump or Biden, and then one of the people, and it's like back and forth, and one of the people goes like, well, while we're talking, I think you should watch like Fast and the Furious 3 because it's a really good movie.
It's just a plug for their favorite movie.
And the person responding goes, well, I don't know why that matters right now, but while we're recommending movies, like, you should watch this and this. And it's like proof of NPCs, like, in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's sort of like, for those who don't know, NPC means non-player controlled. An NPC is like in a video game. Right? In a video game, it's non-playable character, whatever it is. It's like these people, like, for example, what's a good video game we can take an NPC from? Like I'll say GTA. There's all these fake people walking around that make the city, and you can interact with them. They'll say different things, and they'll like argue with each other. It's like these people are online.
I wonder what % of interactions like that are just like bots interacting. Do you think like
I think
how often do you think you're on like Twitter or whatever and see bots interacting that, like, because some of these interactions that you see online, there's no way they're real. Like, no way.
No, there's no way. I bet you there's like a literal AI systems that can like respond to a message or even just copy and paste.
Oh, I'm positive.
An existing message onto a thread.
Positive.
Just to be like a troll. It's internet trolls. But going back to what I was saying, like, it's like people don't realize that not only are they not making a difference for the person they're arguing to, the person you're arguing to isn't going to remember. They don't care about this interaction.
They care about what they said.
Yeah, they care about what they said. They could care. You could make the best point in the entire world, and it would not make a difference. You could come in with 18,000 facts, and it wouldn't make a difference. But it doesn't even help their cause. It literally has no effect when you just go into a conversation, you go into a thread, and you just argue.
I'd make the argument that it's actually like negative,
hurts.
right?
Yep.
Like, I go in and look at that, and as I feel like I'm pretty reasonable. I see that stuff and I go, man, like, I probably agree with you, but
you're annoying.
Really? Like, is that what we're doing? Like, I can't even like, and you can't even engage. You can't engage with that. It's bad. Dude,
I saw a thread on TikTok of, it was like it was sort of like you were saying with that Twitter feed, and he says his favorite movie. Just like a very nonchalant comment. It was like, I like dogs. And then the next person said like, I like this. And then the next person said the same thing. And it was going on great for a while. And then it was like, I love Trump. And the next the comments down, it's just like, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. And it makes me dumber. Reading these comments, I think it makes me dumber.
Because you see the under the comment, and there's like 600 comments on the video, and there's like 7 different comments, and one of them is something like vaguely political, like not even very inflammatory, and there's like 300 replies, and it's like, yeah, can't engage in that.
Yeah, it's impossible to engage with it. But overall, getting to the end of my talking points for this podcast, I think that social media for politics has made people dumber politically. I think that the media has made people dumber politically, and I think overall everyone is getting dumber politically. Everyone, right? Don't you think? I think
especially the politicians.
Dude, they're getting worse.
I was just talking to somebody about that.
Think about like Barack Obama, okay, or even George Bush, who was not a good. That's a conversation for a different day. But Barack Obama, George Bush, JFK, Nixon, Reagan, like some really iconic politicians, some really iconic presidents.
And
then,
we got Trump.
And then it's
And
Trump
Clinton.
and then Biden. And Kamala? Huh?
Yeah.
What has happened to politics? And the problem is, Henry, here's the problem. Here's the hottest take you'll hear all day. It's going to continue to get worse. Presidents are going to continue to, slowly starts with Trump. Trump's kind of, this outsider, he's kind of racist. And then you go to Biden, he's like a billion years old. They've told him not to talk to the media. Like, huh? The administration has told him not to talk to the media? That's kind of weird. Next president, who's it going to be, Henry? We don't know. Could be DeSantis. That guy's kind of crazy. Really, really right wing, but probably way more conservative than Trump. And the Democrats, if they don't run Biden again, they're going to probably run Kamala, maybe they choose like a really left wing kind of person,
AOC's approaching. Is she 35 yet?
She will be by the next election, I think. So, look, something's got to change. And I don't have the answer. But if I did have the answer, you know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't go to social media and post it. Because
you'd share it on this podcast.
I would share it on this podcast for all of you to hear. Our philosophical, societal takes that never cease.
We are a beacon of light.
A beacon
in
of light
the political
in this
darkness that the masses should flock to. Frankly, not to, and I don't.
That cannot be dulled. A political light that cannot be dulled.
Dimmed. Cannot be dimmed.
Cannot be dimmed.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end this one.
Great podcast. CTSPC episode 44. Thank you.